I kind of got put off horror movies because you made me watch my first one when I was 15.
That's not a horror movie.
Yeah, and you sat next to me and you went, yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
There was a scary bit.
That was good times.
No, that was one of the bad ones.
Anyway, so you touch people for a living.
Technically. Yeah, I do.
How's that going for you?
Lots of pain and... Okay, I don't know how to word this properly.
No, okay, so what
It's going good. Business is great.
Fuck yeah.
Do you want to say why I touch people for a living?
No, you say.
Touch their hearts. No.
Aww, I doubt it.
I treat people.
Yeah.
Similar to what physios do and techniques with like trigger pointing and cupping and
Is there a
needling.
name for this or?
Myotherapist, which is like the most not known one out of all of them. Remedial is much more well known. I think the most frustrating time for remedials and myos was last year in COVID because we were allowed to work, not work, work, not work.
So did you end up being an essential business or not?
Yeah, so we were essential through, I think, lots of like stage 3, but when we hit stage 4, it was allied health professionals only, which we are, but we didn't have a degree. So there was like doctors, chiros, physios, osteos, they could all work. And then remedials and myos got put in like this separate category where we weren't allowed. And we were always kind of not sure if we were allowed to or not.
So apparently the degree lessens the chance of them getting COVID.
Look, maybe.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
I remember they wanted us to wear goggles, a face shield, and a mask while treating.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and remedial?
Well, I guess like the amount of knowledge you learn in school, but depending on how interested the person is in the job, like a remedial, you could have a remedial that's more knowledgeable and experienced than a myo that's fresh. But what's the main difference is like myos are qualified to use dry needling, cupping, therapies. They go a little bit more in depth with like injuries, recovery, rehab. Anatomy goes more into depth. But again, it depends on like...
But you don't need a degree to be a myo?
No, diploma, advanced diploma.
Ah, and even if you have that, would that bump you into the category or is that just completely different?
What do you mean? Oh, no, that was completely different. Because I've got the advanced diploma of myotherapy.
Oh, okay.
But, still didn't quite meet the mark for like physios and osteos. So all the myotherapists and readers, we were kind of like, cool, thanks. Just like slam us down.
That sucks.
Yeah, we just felt like we weren't as needed. And yet, you know, the physios, the osteos, some people will only go to them for like post-injury or when they're super sore. And then remedials and myos might have more like, prehab work where they get just maintenance treatments to avoid getting injured instead. And for people that train and exercise all the time, they really rely on that.
So what kind of people do you usually train, would you say? Not train, treat, yeah.
I actually have a lot of hairdressers.
Sorry. Oh, it looked like a stop recording, but I think it's all good.
We good?
Sorry. A lot of hairdressers.
A lot of hairdressers.
They do work the hardest.
Yeah, they're just in like this position all day, every day. Like shoulders are always...
You'd think. Yeah, that'd be like a good workout, right? That'd be like a good workout.
You need another treatment soon. A lot of bodybuilders, people that train in the gym, a lot of makeup artists, a lot of girls that are in like the beauty side of things, like eyelash techs. Yeah. Eyelash techs? Why are you looking at me weird?
I don't even know what that is.
When they do their eyelashes.
When they like stick them on?
Yeah, one by one.
Oh.
When girls get their eyelashes done and they have to, it takes ages. Hundreds, maybe.
No, but what's like a lash? It's like, what, like 40?
Yeah, there's
40
heaps.
lashes?
I've had my eyelashes done twice. Loved having them done, but lying there was so hard because I don't lie down very much, or I'm not very sit still.
Okay.
And I had to lie there for an hour and a half and just one eyelash at a time glued on. So yeah.
And they have to do it like in between your eyelashes or something.
Not on top of the eyelash, to my knowledge.
You can
But
get
yeah,
like
they're literally like in this position, so they're just their necks are messed up and yeah.
Have you seen that jaw trainer trend where you have that
Oh,
little
yeah,
ball
yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
go like that? Yeah. So maybe people will eventually go to like, do you need really buff eyelashes? And you put like weights on top of your eyelashes and go.
I don't know how hair follicles work, but
No, it's your eyelids.
okay.
Like you probably have muscles.
Maybe you get
controlling
really
this movement.
muscly eyelids.
Yeah, just like really strong eyebrows. But apparently, those jaw things don't even work. Like, they don't work.
Yeah, I've heard good and bad about them. But I also believe the bad. I also believe that, like, you know, we're meant to chew a lot more than what we do.
Yeah.
But genetic-wise, that plays a huge part with the structure of the jaw.
Yeah.
Diet, hormones, food, that can play a part with how, like, puffy you are or your water retention or stuff in the body. And then as for, like, chewing on, like, something that's resisting it super hard, jaw issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of muscles.
Fuck up your joints and shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of muscles through here. There's a couple of really strong tendons that run through there. And if they start getting locked from doing that movement all the time, because as well with a jaw and a mouth, you've also got going side to side, back and forth. And if you're just exercising this one, like you're actually going to get an imbalance in your face and the muscles.
And I'd imagine it would be better to choose something like really soft often rather than something like really hard.
Like chewy.
Yeah. It makes no sense. Well, what I heard about them is that they basically don't increase the size at all. Like if you're going to do it, you might get like a slightly stronger jaw, like a tighter jaw, but it's not going to be like
Nah.
But you know what does that?
What?
Apparently there are these kind of retainer blocks. Instead of putting them like, you know what retainers are, right? The clip-ons, yeah. So what you do is they're like little molded like wood blocks, and you put them on the roof of your mouth and you tighten it so it stays there, and it actually widens the space inside of your mouth, and that does give you a wider face.
Yeah.
So that's actually like a really well researched thing. It's not like a chewing stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, they do that in case I think in some medical cases, if your mouth is like too small, they try to like put it in
Open
there,
it up.
widen it a bit. And I don't think it's gaining popularity, but
No, but the other jaw one is.
yeah. Oh, it's because of those fucking like
Ads.
no Insta models, like influencers.
Yeah.
They
And
just
on
like
TikTok. I first saw it on a TikTok.
yeah, right.
I went, no way. And then when I started looking it up, I was like, are these before and afters legit? Like,
They're not. It's like the before and afters for like just gym equipment sales and shit like that, or supplements where people just get like they eat to get bloated after they take the fasted and like trimmed down photo. Yeah, it's so bullshit.
oh, and
You just can't trust any of that.
it can all be changed with like angles and tensing and twisting and lighting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, basically. Do you get people like that are like, you check out their Instagram and you just like cringe?
Yeah, but people probably cringe at mine, so.
That is true. I've been there.
That's where you're meant to say, no, it's not on yours. But,
Yeah, let's just pretend I said that.
Okay, I will. It'll help me sleep. But I do get like a crazy thing with work is feeling the change in people's bodies that do the competitions, and when they really lean down for like the bodybuilding comps and they cut down on calories and
Well, explain. What do you mean?
how it feels different. Like you can physically see them get leaner and smaller.
Yeah.
And the muscles is like, yeah, you can feel when they're, like some people that have already been quite athletic in the past still feel like they have strong muscle fibers. And then as for some that have just done that really quick change into like leaning down and shredding down straight away with no athletic background, you can feel that their muscle tissue feels like weak, even though they look lean and strong.
Yeah, right.
It like, yeah, it's really interesting to feel the difference in the tissue where you can actually feel, you know, skinny fat tissue versus like lean muscular tissue.
But like if you were to look at it, it kind of looks similar.
It can, yeah, but can feel totally different.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm guessing dehydration plays a huge role.
I don't know how they do it. When they get to that last, because I can't work on them anywhere from 5 days to a week out before a comp.
Why not?
I personally don't know. I just know that all the coaches say no massages before. It might have to do with like water retention and fluid and pushing everything around the lymphatic system.
Cramp it up or something.
Possibly.
If there's like
they don't want
hydration.
Yeah, and you know they can't risk cut marks or anything like that.
Cut marks?
Cup.
Oh, cup.
Cut marks.
Okay.
What do you think I said?
Cut marks.
Cut marks. Jeez.
Well, you did use a knife on me, so.
I did use a knife on him.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so they by the end when they're like they're just like emotionally and mentally depleted. Like they have nothing. They basically go from being really chatty and excited, and in that final week they're just like wrecked, can't talk, exhausted, hungry, moody, just want to get the day done. They don't even care about the process anymore. They're just like, I just want to get the day done.
Yeah.
So that then they can eat a donut or a hot
That's
dog.
rough, man.
But no, yeah, the mental effects of it is just, that's more of the challenge than the physical side. The comp is kind of just the reward bit at the end, but what they go through mentally to get to that,
yeah,
it's hard.
I wonder if it's like, I guess it would be as rewarding as like doing like an actual like sport, because
Yeah.
it's not like you're competing against anyone like through, it's not skill, but it's like you're not like doing something actively to see who wins at the end. Like there's like a clear winner loser. Like what you're doing is you're trying to look as good as possible so that a bunch of people can say whether you're good enough or not. Like it's a different type of competition.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're like both as rewarding to each other. I mean, I've never done it before, so.
Yeah, neither.
No. Yeah, that's rough. Do you think that's like growing as an industry? Because I'm guessing you talk to all these people.
Yeah. I think it is. It's definitely like become noticeably much more popular the last like maybe like 4 years that I've been treating. I've noticed a lot more people competing, coming in or wanting to do it. But I think the industries that are really starting to boom are like the movement ones, kind of like what I do with like animal movements, not just yoga, Pilates stuff, but like animal movements,
bowel movements,
calisthenics, morning movements. Calisthenics, handstands, all the kind of fun, different types of, training other than just weights.
It seemed like it moved from like CrossFit to this now.
Yeah. Where it's becoming more about like movement and all the cool things that the body can do, not just how many reps, sets, weights, getting heavier.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that a lot of people got into their mind that exercise was just that.
Yeah.
And now it's like expanding. Because I'm just seeing movement things and mobility things pop up everywhere. Like even walking along Burleigh for the first time in years, and I've seen more of it. There's always been like the Tai Chi and the yoga, but there was like a mobility guy, there was like animal movements, and I've forgotten the name of it. But there was like heaps more stuff going on through that industry. I think it's just
becoming more and more like noticed because of the internet. Because before, the only attention was mainly like, I mean, gymnasts from the Olympics, they got the attention like in terms of body movement. But then like more casual people were just bodybuilders or like movie stars. And now that everyone's building such a like big following and everyone's like looking at each other's stuff, more stuff is shared around and more people will see it like, oh, cool. Walking like a gorilla does look fun. Like they started doing it. And then,
weird at first, and it's like, oh, that's actually way harder than it looks.
My favorite movement is when the dogs put their butt onto the carpet and then they like scoop with their hands. Dude, the tricep workout
that is so hard to do. You gotta give dogs credit for that. Yeah.
Especially if they leave like a little mark behind. It's like, ta-da.
Yeah. All that core strength to keep the legs up.
Right. Dude, that's so hard. That L sit is so difficult. Especially if you're in my case, because I'm not flexible, I'm like, everything hurts.
Everything hurts. Everything hurts on you regardless, though.
Yeah, basically. That's the life of a computer person.
I lasted 5 days doing reception and then said, I'm out.
You did reception?
Yeah, for 5 days, and then that was it.
Whoa.
I just straight away went...
Where at?
I forgot the name. It was for just a friend's company. And I just had to do like the phone calls and the emails and answer things and stuff. And yeah, after 5 days, I was like, I'm never doing reception or a sitting job ever again. Because I also missed a day. Got there, sun just came up, left, and the sun was gone, and I was like, I just wasted a whole day. I didn't even get out, and now I have a really sore neck and ache down my leg. And I went, I'm never doing this again, and I didn't.
Now you can sympathize to the other 2 people that listen to this.
Yeah. Right now.
This is how we feel all the time.
Yeah. See, empathetic goes back.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
5 days.
5 days.
And what did you tell your friend?
Oh, she only needed me for, however long I was there. And that was how long I was prepared to be there for.
She got the call, like, okay, yeah. Fair.
I remember just being paranoid about, because I had to stay there. I was actually really paranoid that I had enough snacks with me for the day. Because we couldn't, I wasn't really near any food. Right. Yeah. And I just remembered being really like, have I got enough to snack? But you snack so much when you just sit. Well, I don't know if you do. I did.
I don't eat
no, you
at all.
forget. You just forget to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really paranoid about the snacks.
Jesus. Was it like a prison? Like you could have just
felt like it.
Out? Yeah.
Felt like it.
Okay. How many hours did you have to do?
It was like 9 till 5.
Yeah, that's pretty shit. Well, you do heaps of hours for your therapy job.
That ranges. That goes like some days 6 hours, some days 7 hours, some days 2 hours. That all depends on like clients and bookings and rescheduling and cancelling.
Yeah.
But
and you do mainly cupping and needling, just because you like don't.
Yeah, I try.
Little handsies are like frail.
Little hands, they're strong. I will hurt you. Okay. Do you want me to get that knife out again? Yeah, I'll use the other side.
I'm pretty sure you did use, because I felt she used a butter knife.
It makes it sound. Should we explain what happened?
Yeah, you stabbed me in that. No, you used the jagged edge because I could feel it like scratching.
Yeah, but I didn't like.
You didn't stab. You just like scraped.
Yeah, there's a stabbing technique. Let's try it.
There is a stabbing technique?
Yeah. Actually, that's that's with the needles.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so you used mainly those things.
Mainly the dry needling and the cupping, but that's because like with the cupping, I can like get a bunch of cups on. Say I'm doing their whole posterior chain, which is like everything from the back, glutes, hamstring, calves. I can get the like cups on the back, start treating calves, work my way up.
Oh, so you do it simultaneously while doing other things.
Yeah, and
that's pretty nice.
Even while I'm like, and then maybe move some cups onto the calves, go into hamstrings. Oh, there's a couple of spots, get some needles into there, take that out. Might even feel something in the glutes. They usually get pretty big twitches. It's quite funny when you like get a trigger point in the glutes and they're like whole butt twerks, and it's like totally me doing that.
Totally you doing that.
Yeah.
Doing it with my mind.
My mind. Yeah. No, but I'll use multiple things and I try to get quite a lot done within that hour. I don't spend a huge amount of time like testing because I find that I feel more when I'm actually treating. The only time I'll spend heaps of time testing is if someone's like injured specifically, got a spot that's really painful specifically, and I want to try work out what it is.
Basically, use your hands to find the places. Yeah. And use the tools to actually treat them.
To actually get,
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Like the trigger point, I mean, not everyone wants dry needles or cupping. So then I adjust and kind of go back to just trigger pointing and using like other techniques. Like with the trigger point, I can feel a trigger point and then move their limb around to try get it. Or I can just straight trigger point, or I can trigger point and work with their breath. There's different ways. I'm visually doing it, okay? Okay. Otherwise, I'm not going to think properly.
Okay.
But yeah, if they like the cups and the needles, I can get so much done in a session, and I'd rather get, spend that time doing that.
So I know that like some people find the cups and needles like as a like not a real like because it's not really well documented what they actually do scientifically. So when you learned all of that stuff, like what was the information you were receiving in regards of doing cupping, in regards to doing needling?
There's a lot behind needling that's like, well, there's different techniques and stuff with the needles where like you can have just myofascial dry needling, which is just chucking a bunch into like tight tissue and then working on other spots. And then you've got trigger point dry needling where you actually go in, hit the trigger point, get a big twitch, which I think you felt in your traps before. And then you get that out. And that kind of, whatever that little tight knot is in one of those fibers in the muscle, the trigger point kind of goes in, and when it zaps, it feels like it softens that whole muscle, like it releases that one fiber. That's what it feels like for me when I'm feeling it. As for the cups, they're really interesting because like almost everyone feels better after the cups. They feel tired, more relaxed, more mobile. I only know that whenever I've done cupping on myself, whatever ache I had is pretty much gone straight away. Where cupping kind of just does blood flow. It's just like
the way cupping works, as I understand it, it's like it's a warm cup, right? And you put it in the skin and it starts sucking. How does it suck Are you just?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. No, we have like this little looks kind of like a gun. Anyway, it's not. And you go like that, and you go, and it goes. So little plastic cups.
Is there a thing where they use hot cups?
Flame cupping. So there's also the glass ones with the flame, and you put the flame under the glass and then pop it on, and it.
When the masseuse comes in, they're like. So it's a whole show. It's flame cups, normal cups, needles flying around.
I don't know. When we did the glass ones in school. Yeah, school. I got in trouble because I kept accidentally holding the flame over the person, and they're like, Dana!
What do you mean hold the flame? Like, how does it work?
So you get the flame, you get the cup, and then you do that and pop it on straight away. And I just kept going over the person. They're like, Dana. And I'm like, sorry. And then I dropped one of the glass ones and went, you know what? I'm going to use plastic.
Yeah.
Gets the same thing going. So
with the heat?
With the blood flow.
Oh, okay.
With the blood flow.
You can't really do the hot cupping with plastic, no.
No. But yeah, so with the cupping, you can also either place them, which is when you get all the little salami patch marks on the back.
Yeah.
And you can also glide them, which is slide cupping. And that slide cupping feels really good because it's like it sucks up the connective tissue, and when you glide it, it like feels like it's stretching it as it's pulling it back and forth.
It's kind of like DJing for masseuses, huh?
Pretty much. You're just there and you're like...
It's pretty full on.
Yeah. Flick that, twist that.
1 second. I never double checked if I actually turned this on. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
It's going to be like,
I tend to forget.
You tend to forget? That's a regular thing that you do?
I tend to forget, but I always check.
Just to be...
I tend to remember that I check so I don't forget. That's what I meant. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit late, just letting you guys know. It's been a big day. It's going to be a bigger day. We're going to set the house on fire. Look forward to that.
Oh, God.
So, do you want to talk about what happened with
the
your
surgery?
Shoulder? Yeah, so how about we start, like, chronologically?
What?
Chronologically?
Yep.
Do you know what that means?
Absolutely.
I believe you.
Yep.
I believe you. Okay. How about we start from the beginning?
Of my shoulder injury.
Of like all the things that went wrong.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of different stuff over years.
So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was going to be mean there. Anyway, is because of how much shit you went through, but you like still came out on top, basically. Kind of. You're like getting back there.
Thanks.
Getting back there. And so to kind of like give a cliff note of what happened. The reason why we first started talking is because your partner at the time passed away.
Yes.
And then after that, was COVID first or was your dad's hip problem?
Dad's problem.
Yeah.
No, Dad's had an issue with his hip for a couple of years, and he's in desperate need of a hip replacement. That just progressively got worse, and COVID didn't help because it pushed all the surgeries back.
Yeah.
Losing my partner happened before COVID, and then COVID was the following year, and that's when I called you. And but then getting through all of that.
Yeah, so it was like death and then...
3 deaths. 2019, there were 3.
What? Who was...
My nan was first.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa. And then 2 weeks after my grandpa was my boyfriend who died.
Oh my Jesus.
So that was a rough year.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, 2020.
2020, so
COVID.
a few months later, we went into COVID and we had...
Melbourne was like...
Fucked.
The worst.
Strict as fuck lockdown. Stage 4 we were in for months.
What were the rules like?
So we had, I remember the worst one was when we were in stage 4, but it was like stage 4 with a bit extra stage 4. It was like we had a 5-kilometre radius to stay in, only 4 reasons we were allowed to leave the home.
Only 4 reasons.
Yeah.
If you couldn't come up with the 4th one, there's
you got in trouble.
Okay. What were your 4 reasons?
4 reasons was an hour of exercise, chemist, medical, that kind of stuff. To care for like a family member, caregiving stuff. So like if you know, your mum can't walk to the shops herself and you drop her off milk or something. But it had to be super valid and you had to go there, go home, drop it off, not even go in
and
or
the cops
talk.
were like patrolling.
Patrolling all the time. And then the other reason was just groceries. That was it.
Yeah, wow.
And you literally had to go and go back. They even watched like McDonald's car parks to make sure no one was hanging around. Everyone would just go through the drive-thrus. We had a curfew where we had to be home by 8 p.m. No one out, unless it was for those 4 reasons, till 5 a.m. I think.
Yeah.
So I got up early because that was it. And we were only allowed out for 1 hour a day of exercise.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone stuck to that. I definitely didn't.
You were out all the time.
I was out a lot.
All the time.
I remember when we were paranoid about people being like, oh, like, because I have a girlfriend called Kaylee and she lived within my 5K radius and we would just go for walks all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember one day where we went for a few hours and we went and took like photos and videos and stuff like that, but we posted it only within an hour gap to be like, no one will know. No one's going to know we were out for hours.
Choreography, the posting, so yeah.
Oh, it was so...
One picture's like super bright, the other picture's like sundown. But
actually, I remember the stupidest moment where I was just like, this COVID thing is now so messed up, where we were doing headstands on an oval exercise, because at this point we weren't allowed to sit down. If you were outdoors, you were only allowed to be outdoors for 1 hour of exercise. You had to walk. Cops were walking around, and if people were sitting, get up, move on. Get up, move on. Cops literally said, you're not allowed to sit, keep walking. Everyone's having to do this, so you have to. And I remember Kaylee got a photo. We were taking photos, doing the headstands and stuff, and I must have tumbled or something. And then she got a photo of me where I was just laughing on my butt. And I was like, that's a really funny, like, candid, in the moment, dorky photo. And I went to post it, because it was a bit of a, like, Insta versus reality photo. Yeah. And then I was like, I can't post that. I'm sitting. I'm literally sitting. And so then I actually thought, do I need to write a caption being like, when you fall over during your daily exercise.
And you capitalize fall.
So I ended up, and because so many people in Melbourne were being really like nasty to each other, and they were like, oi, if we're not doing it, you shouldn't be. Fair enough.
So did you get any of that like pushback from just people you knew?
No, because I was quite careful with what I put on social media, but a lot of people didn't care, and when they didn't care, they got ratted out. Friends were ratting out their friends. It was harsh. So what I actually did, I waited the 3 weeks or 4 weeks for them to lift being allowed to sit down in public places in order to post that photo.
Dude, that sounds like fucking 1984, which is like a cool book, but that's...
I remember that.
There were like neighbours ratting out neighbours.
Everyone.
Wow.
Neighbours ratting out neighbours. There was one neighbour where they had a birthday party. Yeah. And, they had their family over, 20, 30 people, I don't know. They all got fined $1,600.
Each.
Yes.
Ooh.
The party ended up costing over $40,000 of fines because a neighbour ratted them out and took videos, posted it everywhere. And people were screenshotting each other's stories, snap stories, and shaming so many people. It turned so many ugly friendships apart, COVID.
Oh my goodness.
It was so different in Melbourne.
So...
it brought a lot of people together, and I guess made a lot of people realize the things that they really need in life versus what they don't need. Things like going out and clubbing all the time and stuff like that. I definitely learned that I need more alone time at home rather than always being busy and having FOMO and missing out. And so it did a lot of good for people, but it also exposed people to, having to sit with their thoughts and not get all those distractions. So it was a bit of a terrifying period for people that don't grieve or cope well with things.
How long after the passing was that?
So he passed away in November.
And then the lockdown happened.
Then the lockdown started happening around April. It started getting more hectic. March it started getting talked about and we were kind of preparing for it. But everyone was kind of like, weren't you in Australia?
Roughly 4 months after.
Yeah.
What was your mental state like going into the lockdown?
I kind of already did a lot of grieving before it because I was very talkative about everything that happened.
Oh yeah, I know.
Every night, 3 hours, read me stories to sleep. Sorry.
Yeah.
You did. Like your own stories.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not why I fell asleep.
There was some,
but there was so much. I did a lot of talking about how I felt and being sad, and I did a lot of drawing, and I did a lot of going to the beach by myself and exploring by myself. So by the time COVID hit, I had kind of already gone through my coping mechanisms, which was just like a lot of drawing, a lot of talking and being open, and I even wrote down stuff, which I don't do often. And I have a really, really close friend, and the same thing happened.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, not him.
I'm not the close friend.
No.
Yeah.
Nah, I have a really close friend, and the same thing happened to her where she lost her partner. It was I didn't say this before, but it was to suicide. And she lost him when she was the same age as me. And so video calling her and talking to her through it, she kind of knew where I was always at in my grief process. So yeah, she kind of got me through that period. And it hit really hard again through COVID, where I'd pull out the photos and the videos and have my cries. Really? Yeah. And every time that I felt it, I was like, I couldn't pick which one I was grieving over, to the point where I had to so what I started
compounded.
What I did for Nan, I made the funeral video. Grandpa, I made the funeral video. And for the ex-partner, I made my own funeral video. And every month, I reckon I watched all three. At least once. And that would help me cry, maybe do a drawing, let it out, and then I'd be fine. But I had to cry. If I didn't...
Did you read about how to grieve? Because it sounds like it's something...
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. So you actually what was the program? Yeah.
Well, he was in a coma for 2 weeks in the hospital, and I had my dad sit me down a couple of days when I was going nuts. I was PTSD through the roof. I was going nuts, and Dad sat me down and in the hospital and said, "Read this." And it came up with the 5 stages of grief. And so 1, what it is, which is always like disbelief, horror, shock, don't want to believe it. And then the second one was anger, like, how could they do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, why me? The world's against me. Third one, which is bargaining. What could I have done to stop this? How could I have made this better? This is all my fault, blah, blah, blah. I came out of that one pretty quickly. So basically what he did, and then 4th was like depression, when you get really sad. 5th was acceptance. So basically there was 5 stages, and he said, I want you to learn all 5 so that you can pick which one you're in, and you can tell when everyone else is...
And see what you need to do.
Yeah. And with, I think with old age, when you lose someone due to just old age. Like Grandpa's was quite smooth. It was kind of like, I can't believe he's gone, and then being angry at yourself for maybe not visiting him more. But it's quite smooth. It kind of goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you go into acceptance quite quickly.
Yeah.
Nan was a shock. Nan had a stroke, and Mum found Nan at her home, and it's more bouncy for Mum the most.
So your Nan, and was that the grandpa that was with?
No. So there was Mum and Nan.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But with the suicide, it was all over, and it's still to this day it can be a bit all over. Like especially if you get triggered in moments.
Yeah.
Like I actually had a really strange trigger happen yesterday.
Oh really?
Yeah, which was really weird because I hadn't had one, and it was just a small ice cream container that I had at the hospital quite a few times that I got from 7-Eleven.
Whoa.
And yeah, that happened yesterday, and that was really bizarre because I hadn't
Flashback.
Instant flashback of being at the hospital because they were the biggest 2 weeks. But the learning about grief, you know, mental health, suicide, what causes it. It is a thing. People are scared to say it, scared to say the word, but it is. And it's like I had to learn and research the hell out of it, and PTSD to know what I was going through, because I was having vivid dreams, nightmares.
Fuck. That sounds full on.
Vivid dreams and nightmares, and I basically asked my mentor, what's happening to me? Am I going...
So this mentor, just to like provide...
My mentor is my myotherapist mentor, but he's also had like 30 years experience in like...
Does he have a long white beard?
He does, and long white hair. Yeah, he's my Socrates.
Fuck, that's sick.
Yeah, and he said, you've got PTSD from what you saw. And I said, no, I don't want a mental illness. And he said, it's not a mental illness, you have a mental injury.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, it will heal and recover if you treat it well. Same with a muscle. And I was like, how do I treat PTSD well? And he said, you either see someone, but if you don't need to see someone, you take care of it, meaning you take care of yourself. So you try to stay on top of the small things like nourishing yourself. So keep eating properly, drink water, get sleep. What else makes an injury like heal better is something like warmth, go in the sun, be in the sunshine. And he said all these things that made me go, so I've just got to keep living. And he said, yeah. And he said, but you got to keep living, because you do go through moments where you go, how can I live with what's happened? And then you're like, oh, okay, PTSD moment. And then he said, are you having nightmares that are really intense? And I went, yep, they're super vivid. I feel like he's visiting me in them. And he went, great, you just need to accept that you're nuts right now. And I was like, I'm nuts? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you're at a different level of thinking. Your brain's on a way different level of thinking. You're trying to process stuff without remembering things, while your brain's also trying to make you forget things. But and he's like, you are going to be pretty nuts for a couple of months. Your adrenaline's going to be through the roof. You're not going to sleep well. Just accept it and be creative with it. And that's why I drew.
Okay, so that was like, he kind of like nudged you towards doing something with all those emotions. Yeah. And
he said, nothing will fix this other than time. Time won't heal you. You will heal you.
Yeah.
And then when I said to Dad what Mike told me, Dad then said, his name's Mike. Mike's my mentor, sorry.
Mike the mentor.
Mike the mentor, yeah.
Cool.
When my dad told me when I told Dad what Mike told me, Dad went, well, if time's your only answer, what makes time go faster? And I went,
time machine?
A time machine? And I went, having fun. And he's like, so you gotta keep having fun? And I was like, yeah, okay. So you know the thing that actually, there was a moment after everything happened in the hospital days where my family just couldn't understand how I've gone through this big thing. And so almost every second night was a board game night with my uncle and auntie and my cousin.
Yeah.
And it would be Mum, Dad and me and the three of them.
Yeah.
And they were like board games, and I could feel myself faking being happy, and to the point where I would just start blurting out stuff about what went on at the hospital, what I'm feeling, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then eventually there was one night where I realized I didn't think about it as much because I was playing the game, and I had a real laugh. And then I stopped because I felt guilty about having a real laugh again. And felt like I'm not allowed to have this yet. I'm meant to still be grieving. Am I allowed to laugh again?
And what was the period?
So that was about 4 weeks after he passed.
Okay.
And then probably 4 weeks after being the first night in the hospital, and getting through that. But because he was in the hospital, and then 2 weeks later, that's when they took him off. So that's when he technically passed away. Yeah. But the board games nights, they were like really important. Really important. Pictionary was like the main one. But yeah, it was that real moment of laughter, and then realizing I feel guilty, and then actually having to talk to myself and be like, no, you're allowed to be happy again. So that was a hard bit. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's what you would recommend to people: try and have fun and like not to think about. Not obviously don't have fun with it.
When you like, not to force yourself not to think about it.
Yeah.
Like when you need to think about it, just do it.
Yeah.
Feel it, be sad, cry about it. People will admire you and think you're actually stronger for talking or being vulnerable or breaking down. People will admire that. You feel weak at the time. You feel like, come on, man up, you got to get your shit together. Yeah. And that's just not the way to do it. Like you'll never get past that if that's what you do. And even to you, I just would call you and talk about it, and talk about everything that like I was feeling. And I think I called you pretty early on when everything was happening. I was quite hysterical on the phone. And I feel like you were kind of like, damn.
Like, oh, it's nice to hear from you again. Been a while.
And I was like, I'm sorry to dump that on you, but no, it also made me like, call, a couple of other high school best friends. Like I called Luke as well from high school, and then Zoe, and I was like, I just needed you guys, like at that period, obviously, and everyone else that was involved. But yeah, it's interesting the people that you reach out to. Like you go back to like your foundation of,
support group,
system.
Yeah. And then you moved into COVID, and that was back to board games. Literally. How many board games do you have at home now? I'd imagine you have
a solid 100. I don't know. Yeah, probably actually.
Wow.
Nah. Oh, I don't know.
Like 50?
We came up with other stuff though. We put out golf clubs and set up mini golf in the backyard. Made little grass piles with chairs everywhere. And I was the worst at it, of course.
When the smallest golf club is pretty much as like tall as you.
Literally.
It's a hard time.
It was pretty hard. It's just like, and I do.
Or you stand like 2 meters away from it.
I think the best part is Ahori, who's a guy that lives with us. He's kind of like my brother now. Him and Dad kind of just become like two kids together sometimes. And I just remember hearing a golf ball go onto the neighbour's shed and bounce. And they were just like, did that hit the car? Did that hit the neighbour's car? And Mum was walking out, and I just remember Hori like sprinting to be like, we're all good. It's okay. And for me, I was just like, hey, that was exciting, something happening. Yeah. Because in COVID, there was not much that happened.
The little things, right?
The little things. Yeah. But yeah, that was quite fun. Just coming up with family things to do together.
Yeah. And that lasted, your lockdown lasted for a long time.
We were in it for ages. Yeah, we hated you Queensland people. I almost want to mute anyone in any other state.
We had a very easy, Cal and I were talking about this the other week, maybe the week before Reality Spot, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they made us wear masks. And then like some of our friends...
you didn't find it too bad.
Yeah. So some of our friends were like making all this fuss about it. Like, we want our freedom, like I'm not going to wear a mask just because they told us like spread the virus so we can all have like immunity.
Yeah.
And... it's just so dumb because like it only lasted a week that we had to wear the mask.
Yeah. We were in it for months.
That's our entire COVID experience. Over the year and a half or like almost a year.
We literally only had masks lifted a few weeks ago out of like shopping centres and stuff. And even now I think we still have to wear it on public transport. I could be wrong. But no, I'm pretty sure actually. Public transport or doctors we still have to. Or taxis and stuff. But... yeah, ours didn't get lifted for ages. We had to keep going to the shops for so long. And then it was so confusing because I was like, yay, no more mask. And I got into my head, finally, no more mask. And then I come up here and I was like, now I have to wear a mask again.
Yeah.
And then it's now lifted and I'm like, now I don't.
Yeah.
But we had like, Melbourne was so bad. We ended up having like fashionable masks and patterns and everything.
Some of your masks look really cool. They look like ninja masks and shit like that.
Yeah, I remember there was one day where I had one mask and it had like roses on it, right? So it had like little red bits. And I remember I actually wore my outfit based around the mask. Like I had a red scrunchie. I remember having red on because of the mask. And I was like, it's gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Where the mask defines my outfit. That's not good.
Yeah. At least, I mean, you're talking about like women in the Middle East where their mask defines the outfit pretty significantly. Yeah. I guess it's a good thing that you can like have it a bit more colorful and shit like that.
Oh, girls were making so much money. Girls that knew how to sew in each suburb on Marketplace.
Oh, really?
On Facebook, make heaps. I remember the first girl that I got a couple of masks off, like leopard print ones and stuff. Again, we needed different patterns. She was like...
Different outfits, different patterns.
Yeah, she was like $10 each mask.
Yeah.
And then...
And the fabrics.
She ended up being like 2 for $30 instead of $10 each.
You mean 3 for $30?
No, 2 for $30. So she started
so
going
she
up
upped her price.
Yeah.
Dang.
And she was making... Because I remember there was one day I asked when I could come get one and she said she wouldn't have any for the next 3 days ready. So she was just going through like... so much fabric and selling all these masks to girls. And so, yeah, I kind of wish I knew how to sew through that period.
Yeah, because it's like, you can get like a meter of fabric for maybe like a couple of dollars. And the meter of fabric is 20, 30 masks maybe. Yeah. It's so insane. Yeah.
Like, damn, wish I learned that in textiles rather than the pencil case and the pillow.
And how long did your longest... So your worst lockdown was stage 4,
Stage
right?
4.
And how long did that last?
They assumed it was 2 months, and I think it ended up being 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
Strict.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less for the, like, super strict. Because we went back... When did I stop having to work? End of July, August, November, September. And then we kind of came out through October, I think. It's so hard to remember because it was just so, like, long. How are we going for time?
No, I'm just checking because it's so small. I can't even see it like move, but I'm pretty sure it's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So September, October.
Yeah, around then. Because I remember I had my birthday in lockdown. And my thing for the birthday, because it was my 25th, was to find the number 25 somewhere, whether it was on like a letterbox or something like that, and just to point to it. But it had to be within the 5K radius, because we were still within 5K. And that was my birthday thing, to walk around and find the number 25. And we ended up finding a really cool thing where we found a school that had snakes and ladders and stuff, and it had the number 25. Really? Okay. And I like laid down next to it and I was like,
yeah, that's pretty...
It's my birthday.
That's lucky for the 5 kilometer... for the 5 kilometer radius. Yeah.
That was when it went to 25 kilometers, because they didn't give us full freedom back. We went from 5K, then 25K, and then we got everything back. But when I went to 25K, everyone just was like, do I get part of the beach? And like would zoom into maps and circle it. We had a...
But weren't the beaches still closed even though you had that radius?
No, not at that point. Okay. If you lived near the beach, you were allowed to go to the beach. They did close it for a little bit, but that's just because people weren't listening and still going. Yeah. Until people took it seriously.
Ooh.
That's an hour.
That was... Dude, we haven't even got it for like...
We can do 2.
Yeah, we can split them up into like 2 weeks. We can keep going. Because there's like more to talk about. We'll see how long this one goes.
Yeah.
Right. So the beaches were still a part of it.
Beaches were still a part of it. Yeah, if you were in that area, then you were able to go to it. But yeah, when it went up to 25K, and like eastern suburbs, I think I'm around 30 kilometers. Not 30. So I would have been 24.5 kilometers. But I'm like 30 to 35 minute drive. So I was like, I don't know. And then when I zoomed in, I had like 2 little beaches, but only the sand, not the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's okay.
That's good enough.
I still get part of a beach.
The sand, not the...
Yeah. So you could, there was an app where you could type in your home address And it would automatically do it.
Surely if you went into the water from the sand.
I don't think they'd get,
Yeah. Okay.
At that point, it was just like, it's fine.
So things were looking up at that point. And then your dad's hip got worse.
Dad's hip, it got worse.
Yeah. And at that point, you couldn't go to hospital or anything because of COVID. Is that right?
No, we were just waiting. He was just on the waiting list. It just progressively got worse last year. And more towards the end. But that's because he literally spent a whole year of sitting because he couldn't really do much else other than go from bed to the couch, and it was just it's so hard to watch. It still is hard to watch. It will be until he gets the surgery, which we're hoping is really soon. But he's had it for ages, because I remember when we were at the hospital end of 2019, I remember him limping kind of around the hospital. And work-wise, that was super hard because... he finally got a full-time job, and then his dad passed away, my grandpa, and then 2 weeks later he had to keep saying, hey, can I take this day off because this has just happened to my daughter. And they ended up actually saying, you're either gonna have to lose the job if you want to be with her. And he went, fine, I'll lose it then. And so after finally getting a full-time job, he put that off for me and went, I'd rather be here. And then he wasn't able to get work ever since that. And, and then, he couldn't find anything anyway because we weren't allowed to go looking because of COVID. So, it's been tricky with that. But as for his hip, that all probably happened after 20, 30 years of lifting furniture.
Yeah.
So that was just an overtime injury bound to happen.
It's just the timing is so unfortunate.
Timing was terrible.
Yeah.
I remember when everything was going on with the hospital, and you kind of just went. I actually had one feeling where when I was going through that stage 4 of grief, the really depressed, sad stage. My brain literally works out the stages now.
I remember you used to say that all the time when we were on the phone. Like, you used to say the number and then start talking about it. It's like, so this chapter.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
There was like a 4-day period where I didn't leave bed. And I'm not, again, I said before, I'm not someone that lies down, but I didn't leave bed. And I remember just being so sad and not being able to snap out of it. And then when one day Dad limped in and sat at the end of my bed, and he said a few things that were really sad for him to see me like this and feel like he's either let me down or not being able to see this coming or whatever was going on with his head. And I actually stopped and I went, me being like this is actually, he's in a worse position than me. He can't actually go out and feel better about himself. He can't go exploring like I can. And so I actually, part of me got my act together because of feeling like I'm having too big of a mental effect on my dad. And you know how close I am with Dad, so I couldn't see.
Just like your father, basically.
Basically. I'm like a daughter to him. It's crazy. So.
Who would have guessed?
And then Mum's one, that still affects her to this day too. So that was a hard one with Nan.
Yeah.
That was super hard. And then
fuck, everyone at that point was just in a terrible mental place, basically.
Yeah. Dad had to put up with us, so but Dad still, I think, Mum still struggles with Nan and seeing her own mum, finding her like that. That's just horrific. And that's where we kind of had different things go on. That she found someone gone and I didn't find him gone. I had to process it through the hospital days. Whereas Dad's dad, Grandpa, that was he was high as a kite on morphine in the hospital. I'm ready to go.
Oh, okay, that's
I'm
nice.
ready to go. Fair. Grandpa was hilarious because I think he got to a point where he hated the care, the nursing home. His body was done. He knew his body was done.
Was he still mentally there, or
100%?
Oh, cool.
Which was super frustrating
nice.
for him because he's kind of I want to go do stuff and I can't. And he was getting angry at himself and angry at things that. Anyway, I think towards the end he had a stroke, and
I'm just so happy saying that.
It's because of the next bit. He had a stroke, which we were all like, "Holy fuck, no! What's happened? This is not good." And he gets to palliative care or something in hospital, and I think he's like, still here. I was like, God damn it.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But no, he went out really like when the doctor said, look, this is probably his last night, and he just went out with all his family around him, like his daughters, his sons, so dad, mum, grandma, and they're all just bickering and bantering, and he just went to sleep peacefully. So different grief and loss with that versus the others. From my experience, maybe not for others, but from my experience it was. But yeah.
Wow. And then did your dog pass away before you fucked up your shoulder? Or
Ellie,
after?
After. So I fucked up my shoulder during COVID.
Okay. Because her yoga is like extreme yoga. So
nah, it's just
like you try to do the fancy stuff.
It's just I did an acro trick with a friend where I was balancing on him, and we kind of just didn't have the pose, and he leaned and I tumbled and landed on my shoulder. Long story short, dislocated it, ripped cartilage off the bone. It wasn't going to heal unless it got sewed back onto the bone in surgery. So I got...
And that was coming right out of...
That was coming out of COVID. So when everyone was able to go out and party, I was in a sling at home watching Dexter with my dad.
Yeah.
Which was great. I'm not complaining. Dexter was awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so things were starting to get better because I was rehabbing my shoulder. It was in a sling.
You did it all yourself.
Blah, blah, blah. Did it all myself.
Did you get any professional advice? Or were you like, I know what to do?
Yeah, I spoke to osteo, spoke to physio, spoke to...
but you didn't actually go and get treated?
Nah, I literally got like whatever knowledge I had versus whatever knowledge I gained from like the surgeon, doctor. I've got one friend and she gave me all of her physio exercises for it, so I had a lot of information combining it. But yeah, during the sling days when everything was kind of looking up, had my surgery, got Queensland booked, blah blah blah, and then my dog got really sick, and I was like, it's okay, but I didn't know how to deal with the grief of this one because it was like a dog that I was super close with for 8-9 years, Ellie, and she got old quickly. It was like once arthritis.
But you didn't get her as like a young pup though, did you?
She was about 2.
Yeah.
And she was used for breeding, and we kind of just came across her on Gumtree, and she was perfect. Absolutely perfect. She was the most beautiful dog, but very like emotionally attached to us. Didn't like people, but loved us. Loved us. And Ellie was such a weird one to go through because when she had that last week where she was doing the typical things when a dog's done, peeing all the time, sad, they lose their interest in playing. When they stop getting, when they start greeting you, just wagging their tail and stop jumping on you, they're just tired. She stopped eating. Yeah. Anything she ate, she vomited. Like she was just tired, done. And, but it was so hard to let her go. We all realised it was actually more selfish of us to keep her. But making the decision at the vet was horrendous because, like, I had my mum in tears and I remember being like, oh, crap, I have to be the adult. That's okay. I got this. And, because mum basically didn't want to make the decision without me and stuff like that. And I ended up having to take all of my feelings out and making it about Ellie and what's best for her. And her quality of life was pretty much gone. It would actually be cruel of us to give her to another family, leave her feeling abandoned, that can afford the medications, which wasn't going to help or fix her. It was just going to keep her around.
And she'd be sad because she's not with the people that she loves.
It was so sad. So for the first time ever, I stayed with my dog, and mum left. She couldn't watch, which was totally fine. Everyone's different with how they want to remember a dog, but I had to stay with her the whole time. Until they put her to sleep, which was really like I was all right at the time because I was able to be strong for Ellie. And then when I got back in the car, I was just like, how did I do that? And mum was like, I don't know how you did that. And I'm like, me neither. I'm fine. I'm not fine.
Clench.
I'm fine. And then I got back home and like I got to see the difference in how mum, dad and I cope. Because it was basically like, we all got home after that happening, which was so sad because you open the door and you're like, where's the dog?
Yeah.
And so dad was basically just like, all right, that's a chapter. let's close that off. TV on, accepted.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's in the past. Mum, gotta clean. Gotta clean everything. Want to go to the movies? Do you want to do that? No? Okay. And she's just spring cleaning everything. And then me, bedroom.
Yeah.
Volume of the saddest songs possible. And picked which photo to draw. And I pretty much posted like the longest story ever of just videos and photos of us, because that's just what I kind of do when I'm trying to show someone off before I can't anymore, which is what I've done for like the others as well. But with Ellie, it was like, I had a lot of messages from that being like, it's made me cry a lot, but it was touching to do that. And yeah, but straight away I was like, I've got to draw her, otherwise I won't cope. But it was like the first drawing where I've realized that's like, yes, there are the 5 stages of grief, but my drawing is in there somewhere. Like I won't accept something that's hurting me until I've drawn about it. Okay. Like it's a part of my
like the initiation.
It's weird. It's a part of my acceptance. Like even I can go back to times of being confused or about relationships or a certain person or and I remember exactly what's in each drawing about it. And Ellie took me the longest to draw because it was so like important. It took me a month because every time I drew something of her, I'd end up crying and be like, all right, come back tomorrow.
And then you have to make sure the tears don't drop the paper.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. But yeah, and then Dad just, would check and be like, Dad, you all good? Yeah. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it. Coming to me, Danny, you all good? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, you sure? And I'm like, it's part of my process.
And then at the end of all of that, you come here for me to pick on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
but I can cope with it much better than what I used to.
Yeah,
I used to go home and be like, I hate Oleg. I actually hate him. He's mean to me. I'm not friends with him anymore.
Oh.
And Mum and Dad would be like, he thinks you're adorable. It's great. And I'll be like, no, he's mean to me.
You just go into your room and just go for the 5 stages of grief real quick. It's Okay, it's all good.
I stayed in the angry one for a while for that one.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I guess in this place, you kind of like being so close to the beach is like the reward you're willing to get for the price of being made fun of.
Yeah.
So just like quickly before we wrap this up, what's your like reflection and everything that happened, and how are you now? Have you noticed you like different, or do you feel like you went back to?
Oh, I'm so different now. I think I realized so quickly the things that are important or not the things to not get upset about.
Yeah.
Like once you go through stuff like that, when you've got, let's say, a girl trying to pick a fight with you or something like that, you just go, I don't have time for that. Like once you've gone through that kind of heavy grief, not thinking how are you going to live with something, petty stuff just doesn't matter or bother you anymore. You find a new way to not let bad energy in or negative things in that, don't need to be there. Or being sad for no reason, or actually getting to the root of issues of like, why are you feeling anxious? Why are you feeling stressed, rather than just, taking it out on other people or yourself or distracting yourself. It's made me learn a lot. With that, and also actually made me learn a lot about mental health and being able to pick up on things like, the quote from Peaceful Warrior, where the ones that are hardest to love usually need it the most.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, things like that. My whole perception of that changed as well. But yeah, from a life point of view, it totally reshaped me as a person. And I think that the best thing that came out of it was because I basically said to any client that I was going to have, it might come up, I might talk about it, I'm not really in good control about it right now. And they all wanted to know but didn't want to ask, so it actually worked out really well, because everyone wanted to be like, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I know you want to know, so I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Yeah. But because I spoke about loss, grief, death, like now when people go through something, they feel comfortable to talk to me. Yeah. Not to the point where I'm like, I can be a therapist and give you advice, to the point where I'm like, I can just hear it and handle it.
You know how to listen to it, yeah.
I can handle it. Well, there was one guy that I'm friends with, and his dad had a heart attack in the shower, and he basically had to pull him out. And there's been a few big ones where, people go through things, and I think, deep down when they remember someone's also gone through that, like I only wanted to talk to the person that went through that because I knew she would get it. I didn't really want to talk to many other people. So in the back of their head, if they have heard my story, openly, vulnerable, crying to them, however I've done it, and they've seen that I've either overcome it or I'm still overcoming it or can still talk about triggers, then they'll feel comfortable enough to talk about it as well.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have like one person, like there was a girl, just one more client of mine, and she lost her dad at the age of 13, and
so she's older
she's
now.
Older now.
Oh, okay.
So now she's 27.
Yeah.
And that was to suicide too. And she actually avoided talking to me for 6 weeks because she knew I was too emotional to talk to. But when she could come to me, I then felt, and to this day, I still feel comfortable to go to her, but not so much, other people. But it's good to have people that, can go to that deep, dark side and not feel judged or anything for it. And that's the best part about the fact that I was so open about it. It not only helped me, but it made me realize how common this is and how many people are grieving or sad on the inside and not able to express it on the outside. So, yeah.
Dude, this was great.
Was it?
Yeah, you're like so good at podcasting. Maybe I should just give it to you. Like you just went like, boom, I can talk, I can do this. No, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. A lot of interesting information. Now I actually have to listen through all of that because I need to pick like the little snippet for like Instagram.
Yeah.
And there's just so many like...
Good luck.
Yeah, so many moments are like, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Okay, so where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Check out your stuff. This is where you sell yourself.
Just sell myself.
Yeah.
Just Instagram. I won't really reply to anyone on email or Facebook. No, probably not Instagram either.
Okay, so on Instagram, you obviously have a lot of followers and shit like that. So it's an open Instagram. So go follow her. Yeah. What's your personal Instagram?
At Dana_Stewart.
There you go. And then you have a business Instagram.
Yeah, don't message that one.
Don't message it, but check it out.
It gets a lot of messages. Check it out, but yeah. Unless so you're in Melbourne, booking in.
Well, exactly. What if someone listens to it in Melbourne? They're like, oh, I want to like check out her stuff. Yeah. So what is it? I mean, if you don't feel comfortable giving this out, I can just like cut this out.
No, it's on my bio in the Dana_Stewart one. Well, so that's probably easier.
So you post drawing photos, you
post on my normal one. Yeah. There's a lot of movement stuff, mobility stuff. I mainly use my normal one for drawings, videos, editing. I've recently got into reels of doing places I explore. Yeah. So I post kind of just what I do all the time without really thinking about it, just because I like posting it.
Well, check it out. And,
so,
thank you.
Thanks.